Well, good morning, everyone. I just wanted to come on today and give you a quick idea of what you might expect come Sunday. Sunday, April 5th, would normally be our first Sunday of the month and an opportunity to share in Holy Communion. Unfortunately, that won't be possible since we won't be gathering. And it's also Palm Sunday, which makes it a special Sunday in that regard. So we are going to do something special. I just wanted to give you an idea of what to expect. So to lead into that, let me share something about my childhood and then something about John Wesley, and then we'll talk specifics. Regarding my childhood, Sundays were always special in my mother's house, whereas the rest of the week we might have various egg dishes, from scrambled eggs to fried eggs to soft boiled eggs, usually some kind of egg dish, or perhaps cereal on weekdays. On Sunday, we had something different. We might have pancakes one week, and the next week French toast, and the following week waffles. Now, my dad, being from New England, he thought that those corn syrups, whether it be Log Cabin or Aunt Jemima or whatever your favorite is, he thought those were just for the birds. He insisted, as long as it was possible, he insisted on having the real stuff, maple syrup from maple trees. So I grew up with that kind of background. For Sundays are special. Pancakes, waffles, French toast with real maple syrup. I don't know what speaks comfort to you, but that's one of the ways that I experience that kind of thing, drawing on those memories from my childhood. John Wesley, when he made a trip to Georgia, he learned something from the Moravians. He learned several things from the Moravians, but one of them was something that spoke comfort to them, something they called the love feast. And gathering around the table together, they would remember things about Jesus' life, and they would share these special foods. And we might think of a potluck today. We do things like that for potlucks. They're kind of a generations removed experience of the love feast. But we do have the love feast as part of our United Methodist ritual. And that is something that we can do even if we are doing it together separately in our own homes. And so I want to introduce that to you next, what we will be doing Sunday. But this tradition in our church, the love feast, we do have it in our book of worship, and some special helps have been put together for that, and that's the direction we're going to go. Now, we're also going to have some special materials that are being produced by the annual conference, and I'm looking forward to sharing those with you as well as part of the worship, but then we'll conclude with the love feast. So I'm going to shift and refocus the camera on some things that you might want to consider for the love feast. So give me just a second here. So I got out of frame here so that you can see some of my props. Maybe you'd like to have something special, as I mentioned. Maybe you want to make a cake or coffee cake. Those are possibilities. Maybe you want to make some muffins. Maybe you just want to get a loaf of bread out, your favorite bread, and maybe have cream cheese or just butter on it. Whatever, jam. Toast and jam. What's better than that for comfort food? As I said, there's the possibility of pancakes, French toast, waffles, those kinds of things. Maybe you have some cinnamon rolls on hand. Muffins, bagels and cream cheese, whatever speaks comfort to you. That's the thing. Maybe you just want a granola bar. I don't know. Personal taste, whatever you like. And then something to drink. Maybe you'll want a cup of coffee. Maybe you have a favorite juice. My sister and I have liked this white crayon peach from one of those big name companies. I'm not going to advertise them, but a glass of juice. Something to drink. Water, if that's what you prefer. Something to drink, something that's a comfort food, whether it's, some special bread or just a good old piece of toast. Whatever works for you. Don't go making a special trip out to the store this time of sheltering in place. We're only supposed to be making necessary trips. But surely you have something on hand that fits this kind of thing. Now, if you're already making a trip to the store for necessities anyway, and you want to pick up something special, that's okay. Now, I'm going to shift again, now that I have shown you this, and come back into frame myself. So in this time of social distancing, I would just request that you be mindful of the fact that there are still some on the margins for whom this season is just even more difficult. Most of us have someplace to go. We can go into our homes and be comfortable and have what we need at hand. But there are some at the margins for whom that is not true. And I'm reminded of a Gaelic tradition. Fits with the rest of the theme of this week, I guess. It goes, I saw a stranger yesterday. I put food in the eating place, drink in the drinking place, music in the listening place, and in the sacred name of the triune God, he blessed myself and my house, my cattle and my dear ones. And the lark said in her song, often, often, often goes the Christ in the stranger's guise. In scriptures it says, don't forget to show hospitality to strangers, for those who do so often entertain angels unawares. It's difficult in this time of social distancing, but maybe you can be creative and just something to think about. Use your creativity there. Bonnie and I have been concerned about some of those that are in the hospitality industry and how this season is severely affecting them. Will the places where they're employed even be in business on the other side of it? We don't know. I noticed Clyde's, for example, has set up a special fund to help their employees. There are probably others that are doing the same. So, again, something to think about. I did want to share with you the information about what is coming Sunday. So finally today, before I sign off, I did want to talk with you just briefly, off the cuff, regarding the gospel lesson that we did not read last Sunday. It's the story of Jesus' friends who lived just outside Jerusalem, a small town called Bethany. We usually say it Bethany in English. Literally means house of the poor. At least that's what I was told one of my trips to Israel. And yet we also know folks who lived there were not uniformly poor, because at least one of them owned a couple of mules, donkeys, whatever, because that's where Jesus sent his disciples to get a mule for him on Palm Sunday. That's where his friends, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus lived. And he was across the Jordan at one point, some distance removed. It would have been quite a hike. It could have been 2 days from where they were. In any case, somehow they got word to him that Lazarus was critically ill. He should come at once. Scriptures tell us Jesus took his sweet time getting there because he knew what was going to happen, but hard for us to understand. And it was hard for Mary and Martha to understand too. I mean, if you'd been here, Jesus, my brother wouldn't have died. Perhaps some of us have been feeling that way in the midst of our health crisis today. One of the things that we see in this story is God's compassion for us in the midst of our trials. Jesus wept with his friends there. They'd experienced a tragedy, a loss. And this person who died, the scriptures identify as the disciple whom Jesus loved. Is that the beloved disciple who actually wrote the Gospel of John? Quote unquote. The gospel we've always assigned to John, the youngest of the disciples? We don't know. So many blanks that we can't fill in. But the gospel does identify him as the disciple Jesus loved. And it says Jesus wept there outside the tomb. Some of the folks said, see how much he loved him. Others had negative things to say about it. But then we experience the story of the resurrection of Lazarus, Jesus calling him forth from the grave. And we experience the anger, the fright, the determination of Jesus' opponents at that point to find a way of getting rid of him. Because obviously if he can do this, he can turn the world upside down. Yeah, Jesus can turn the world upside down in a good way. And not least because in him we see the compassion of God. I've mentioned several times, and again during the season of social distancing, that we should allow Jesus to be our window for understanding God. We should allow Jesus to be our lens for the examination of Scripture. As you read the story of Mary and Martha and Lazarus, what do you see? As you go through your day-to-day, may grace and peace be yours in abundance. Talk to you again soon.